Yeah, hang on. And you can just. All right, we're live on Latinos for Trump. I'm live with Thad Cisneros, our Utah State Director, and I'm Bianca Gracia, your Latinos for Trump president out here in Texas. So we are waiting for Anthony and Maria to join us, and we're going to bring you some updates. We were on a conference call today with a president and talking about all the things, the wonderful things that he's doing for our Hispanic communities. And so just stay tuned. We're going to build an audience and wait for our other two hosts. And Thad's going to play something for you here real quick. Roll it away, Thad.
Yeah, it was a great call. I'm just going to go ahead and, emphasize that it was a great call to be able to listen on to. He addressed, the coalition of Latino Americans here in the United States, that had a broad spectrum of questions. And he actually gave us about an hour and a half. I mean, that was a pretty long time for the president to address, other leaders from across the United States. They had some great questions. Like you said, though, we are going to go ahead and wait until we get a few people on here. So I'm going to go ahead and play a video that I think everybody will like. Just go ahead and give us a few minutes, guys.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Hi, Myra. Hi, Mary, Amelia, Joan, Sherry, Kim, Cindy. Thank y'all for tuning in. Share this stream. We're just waiting for our other two hosts.
Okay. And we do have audio, correct? I saw some people that were concerned with audio. Good to go.
Yeah, sometimes, I've learned that when we're going to play a video, you have to be in the back end for them to hear it. Yeah, in the studio. Like we can't sit outside the studio and play a video. So, hey guys, here we go. Oh, Thad's got something good for us, I'm sure.
In the age of social distancing, the Karen meme is enjoying a massive resurgence.
Karen, an annoying, interfering female adult who complains about everything.
Not social distancing.
Okay, Karen.
Not social distancing.
Who is it?
With who? Stupid bitch, shut up.
Shut up, bitch!
Oh!
Stupid bitch, shut up.
Not social distancing.
That's not social distancing. She's literally sticking her arm out, putting herself closer to him. That's not social distancing. And yeah, I get the sanity of not congregating in huge groups of people, but this is two people in a field in the middle of nowhere. The dude on the bike is sticking to the path. He's the one traveling much faster. If you're that paranoid about Corona, Karen, move out of the frigging way.
Stupid bitch, shut up.
Karens all over the world are milking the opportunity to inflict their petty enforcement of personal behavior on other people.
Hey, it's Corona time right now. It's Corona time. It's Corona time. Hey, it's Corona time.
Does she literally have a cold?
Okay, Karen. Also,
Yes, she does.
Imagine how cooked her boyfriend has to be to encourage this.
Corona time. Hey, Corona time right now.
Oh, somebody wants the Corona. Yeah, and no doubt when you're getting pegged by your girlfriend, your face looks like this. Oh, somebody wants to strap on. It's not 6 foot when convenient. It's 6 foot at all times. Yesterday,
I don't know if that this may not be. This is not be may not be appropriate.
The same thing with the appropriate mother, Karen.
Oh, hey, Ted. Oh, hey, Marcus. How are you? Good. We out for a little run? Yeah, just 7. Might do another 7, Wow. Yeah. I don't want to hold you up. Yeah, let's grab dinner. I would love that. All right. Good seeing you. Absolutely.
Okay. It looks like we have. Miss Miller on whenever you're ready to bring her on.
She's not on. Look at her screen. It says she's in the studio that says Roger Stone tells all. That's not even. That's not even the right.
She's not in the correct. She's not in the correct studio.
I don't. Let me see here. Hold on. And Anthony's saying that it's not working for him either. Hang on. Let me go back. and make sure that they have the right again, let me send it to them again here. Anyway, hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, I see a couple Karens here that are saying that they always wondered who Karen was. So that was a video, PJW. I hadn't seen it yet. Sorry if anybody was offended by the language, but regardless, I mean, with social distancing, we've seen a lot of nonsensical rules brought about by people that just want to be in charge, in my opinion. We've seen plenty of businesses actually utilize those swimming pool noodles to enforce social distancing. And yeah, so as someone, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this information out there. As someone that's worked with infectious diseases like tuberculosis and herpes B virus, which are both deadly diseases, I'm gonna go ahead and go out there and say that these rules are nonsensical and they don't in any way, shape, or form protect you from infectious diseases. If you have something airborne like tuberculosis, you would have to utilize protective eyewear, goggles, what we call a splash shield, and then you would have to utilize something like an N95 or actually probably a respirator, an actual respirator to protect you from this stuff. And that's not even going into the Tyvek suit, the doubled latex gloves or polyurethane if you're allergic to latex, and so on and so forth. A bouffant to keep this particulate out of your hair. And it just goes to ridiculous lengths, that these people are, they don't even completely understand what it is an extensive virtue signaling. So these things just really, they really irk me. And I thought that might've been a good video. But it did kind of go over the top. Yeah.
Hey, listen to this. So, is it saying that we're live? Okay. So are you seeing? Okay. First of all, I want to apologize. I sent the wrong link to Maria and Anthony. I hadn't refreshed my screen, so I didn't send them the right link. So I just sent them the right link. So Sorry, guys. Oops. I sent them the wrong link. So we've got that situated. But are you seeing this right here? It says we're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue with Facebook. Are you seeing that little pop-up there? It says that they stopped streaming it.
Issue on Facebook's end. Is it possible the stream was ended or deleted on Facebook? Please check Facebook to ensure the stream looks okay. If this continues for a while, try creating a new broadcast or just remove the destination from the broadcast and then re-add it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it right now.
That's Anthony's page. Can we add it back on?
I'm going to try. And if anything, we can just, if this doesn't work, then we'll go ahead and just restart the entire thing with everybody already on board. So
everybody on the board. Yep.
Yeah.
Having some technical difficulties here.
Save changes.
Gee, I wonder why.
And he's re-added. So
hey, everybody
should be good.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully now it just, perfect. All right, let's just hopefully now wait. Sorry, guys, I accidentally sent the Anthony and Corey the wrong thing. So let me make sure that now that they've got it.
So Kenny Lazardo says he loves the Salt Lake, Utah boys. POYB, love you back. And yeah, buddy. We got Maida out there. She says the Facebook stream is fine. Kim Bishop Edwards also says Facebook is fine. Tamara also says the same. Maria Salinas Miller, how you doing? Brenda Hedricks, hello.
Okay, guys, just if y'all are listening to me, Anthony and Marie, I just sent you all the new links, and so just go on that new link. I'm sorry, just so that y'all can join us here in the studio. Thad, I guess we'll just wait for them. But listen, was this your first time on a call with the president?
Yeah, it was actually pretty surreal hearing President Trump address us directly. It was pretty surreal. I liked it. It was really good. I had my hand raised the whole time, but unfortunately there was so many people on the call that he just couldn't get to us. But like I said, he did give us an hour and a half, and I thought that was amazing. I never would have expected that amount of time.
Yeah, I think that was the most thing. I've been on conference calls with him before, not too many, but I've been on some, and so where he's come on and this was the longest I think he has spoken, to be honest, when he's had something to say. I mean, he normally talks a lot, but not for an hour and, over an hour. But I really love the fact that I never felt that he was rushed to get off the phone.
No,
he literally spent his time with us. And, it's kind of a little different, right? Because we see all his press conference, we see him speak. This was an intimate moment, like with us on the phone.
Absolutely.
Like it's just really, I mean, he's himself, it's not anybody different, but he was just, he was like lay back, relaxed, just having a conversation with us, telling us what's going on, what he's been doing for the Hispanic community, and and all that stuff. So I felt it was pretty cool. I didn't expect him to come on the phone right off the bat. Typically, you get on a call and his assistant, she's I don't know if she's assistant director or director, but she is from the one of the offices there. And she's the special assistant to the president, and her name is Jenny. And so, and he referenced her, if you recall, towards the end of the call. She was sitting next to him. And so, anyway, typically she comes on the line, she does introductions and, thanks everybody for being there. And so, anyway, so it was really cool. This time, it didn't happen that way. It was like immediately, like we were on hold, and all of a sudden, you are on the phone with the president of the United States. And I was like, what? I was like, I wasn't expecting that really quick. So, yeah, but here we finally got Maria.
Yeah.
Oh,
yay. Oh,
I'm on board. I'm here.
Yay. We're just,
Hi.
okay. Slowly and surely Anthony will make it on, I'm sure. I sent him the new link. So hopefully now he'll be able to get on too. So we've just been kind of hanging out here on studio and just kind of chit-chatting here about, our call. So we were just trying to go over some stuff. And anyway, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to wait for Anthony to join too. But I want you guys and Maria, for those that don't know Maria, because this is the first time she joins us in the studio. Maria is our national coordinator for Latinos for Trump. So I'm so glad everyone. She is on the call on the studio with us today. We finally get to
yes. I'm glad I could finally join you guys.
Yeah, Maria, interesting enough. When I saw your number, I noticed that you're from the same area that I'm from, apparently. You got a 361 number. 3613. Yeah.
So, which area, where do you live? Or what area do you live in?
I'm from the Corpus Christi, Alice area.
Okay. Yeah, my phone number is going to show up as an Alice number, but I'm actually in the Victoria area.
Victoria, yeah. I know Victoria too. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Interesting. Small world.
Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, you as well.
Listen, this is crazy that we're all from South Texas.
Yeah.
I'm from South Texas. I'm not even going to mention the town right now, y'all. I'm not even going to mention it. But y'all know where I'm from.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, it doesn't need an introduction. I'm like, I told that. He goes, "You're from where?" I'm like, "Yeah."
The reputation of the town precedes it. So we've all heard of it.
Like, oh yeah.
Let's just leave it at we're from the Wild West. Yeah, we're from the Wild West.
There we go.
Well, so hey, you guys take it away. Listen, I want y'all to talk because people hear me talk all the time.
So Maria,
and I want y'all to take your time. Go ahead, Thad. Take it away.
Maria, you had some great comments earlier. I'm going to go ahead and read back the comment because I just thought that you put it perfectly. You put conservatives need to make some noise about that and demand our representatives shake that tree and let the nuts fall out. It's very simple. Present a bill that includes assistance pertaining to the pandemic only and giving relief to citizens emphasis on citizens.
Yes.
and
I was
and,
gonna say
and
that.
while helping to reboot our economy. No abortion funding or assistance to non-citizens. Of course, you're referring to the new stimulus bill that the Democrats have put forward, and I think they've included everything but the kitchen sink in reference to the things that they asked for, election cycle after election cycle, their key talking points. So go ahead and elaborate on your comments, because I thought it was pretty well put.
Well, just, from an everyday common citizen's perspective, and people who particularly are not, in the political realm of, understanding all the terminology or the process that goes into writing a bill. I'm not a politician. I'm not an attorney or any of those things, but just a common everyday citizen would ask, why can't you just present a bill that pertains to what it's being presented about, which is the COVID pandemic and the economy being shut down and people losing their jobs and people losing revenue and income. And I mean, just across the board, there's so many things I could mention, but everybody gets the idea. You know what I'm talking about. Why do they have to kind of sneak in all these other things? Well, most of us, we know the answer to that because they think that we're not paying attention, or they think that, they're not going to let a good crisis go to waste. Correct? I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody would kind of agree with that.
That's their own word.
It's just in layman's perspective. Why can't we ever get that from our politicians, from our leaders? Why do they always have to add so much pork belly to everything, especially now? Right now, we have this pandemic. Why can't we just keep it to that? It's not like every other year, where you have, budgets and what have you. This is just pertaining to the pandemic itself.
Yeah, well, not to cut you off, Maria, real quickly, and I'm going to let you finish. But, one thing that we can probably, assume is that they're putting all this stuff in there for optics purposes. They're not expecting, regular everyday citizens to go ahead and do the research and see exactly what's in the bill. What they see on the surface is the Democrats putting forward a bill and then more than likely having the Republicans deny the bill because of all the things that are tied into it, so thereby giving the optics that the Republicans are blocking the bill, to help Americans. And then therefore they can blame the president,
And we're all familiar with that narrative, that they don't care about the American people and so on and so forth. I mean, at this point, we're all frustrated. We're tired of hearing it. And bottom line is just like what I said, shake the tree, let the nuts fall out, and let's just get something done. What can we, as regular American citizens, what can we tell, the Hispanic community and just people in general? What can they do to get their attention and say, hey, we're fed up, we've had enough, do something? Pardon me for saying this, but shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, no, agreed. Agreed.
Because I'm not alone in this. It's everybody. It's across the nation. I've been, I watch the news. I get on social media. I kind of try to look at it, find stories that are interesting, that are going viral, and there's hundreds of them out there, thousands of stories about, how people have had enough and how they're being affected, and where do we start? How can we have an interesting but productive dialogue on this to where we can feel like we're actually making some progress? Do you have any suggestions on that? Or I've never done one of these broadcasts with Bianca, but I kind of wanted to see if we could maybe ask anybody who's signed in, do they have any questions that they want to address that we can engage in dialogue and kind of talk about those issues? I have a few myself, but I was just wondering if there's anybody signed in. I don't really see the comment section on my screen here.
You should be able to access them by clicking on the comments. It should be on the right side.
There it is. I see it. Okay, I got them now.
I mean,
okay.
At this point, I mean, we do have, a good platform, with Latinos for Trump. I mean, obviously the president recognizes the importance of the Latino population, especially in regards to, the future politics. I mean, we are the majority, right now. And I think he's doing, great things to emphasize the importance of the Latino population.
That is true, because within the last decade itself, statistically, we were the fastest growing minority demographic.
Yeah.
You know, I think we had surpassed, you know, the Black community as far as in numbers. And so I was really, I was very pleased, and it just gave me a sense of excitement to hear him say to us today in the phone conference when he said, I forget which gentleman, I think it was Ramiro, that said, "What can we do to help you?" And he said, you know, get everyone to the polls. I need your vote. I need the Hispanic vote to win this election. It will put me over the top. If not, you know, we are on a sinking ship fast if the Democrats take the White House. And I couldn't agree more with him.
His exact words were, we will go into a depression
Yes,
if the Democrats get into office. So just to say some of the, I was writing some notes down. And one of the things that I found fascinating is that the call was really revolved around everything that applies to the Hispanic community, right? Yeah. So like everything revolved, all the stats that they gave us. He made sure to mention that he has been on the calls with presidents of Venezuela, Honduras, Mexico, you know, just all across the board in Latin countries. So he's not just over here in America going, hey, America first. He really does reach across. And one of the things that I think the Apostle Maldonado from Florida brought up at the end of the call was that how he had just gotten off the call with the president of Honduras, and that they specifically from Honduras said, please tell President Trump that we thank him for talking about the hydrochloroquine, because he wrote an executive order in Honduras so that people could receive the hydrochloroquine. And he says they've been able to heal so many people from that. Thousands of people have recovered.
Effective. It's working
because it's working. And so when you have Latin communities, that the presidents of those Latin communities sending messages back through our, through our leaders to say, hey, this is effective and this is working, and we thank you for that and taking the stance. I think that's really amazing. So it goes to show that he is in communication with our Latin community leaders. And one of the other things, did y'all find this very interesting? He said that they sent a message. They said, listen, a lot of our Latin communities had been funding and putting our money into China. And now they're saying no more. They're going to take their money out of China, and they're going to put their money back into their own countries, and they want to keep their own people, and they want to bring some of their people back. That's huge.
And their jobs, their manufacturing jobs, and
their manufacturing
to that effect. Yes.
That is huge, because again, we have been fighting this illegal immigration because those countries had been suffering. And now when you have this whole pandemic happen, I'm just glad it's going to backfire on these Democrats, because they really wanted to push this socialist agenda, and they wanted us to go into this, communistic rule. And so rule of order and rule of law. But let me tell you something, these countries over there are really, coming together, and they're understanding now the dynamics, that things are much bigger than they anticipated. And so I was really, I thought that information was very important, as well as some others. I want to talk a little bit about, but I'll let y'all chime in here. I want to talk a little bit about our Secretary of Small Business Administration, which is Jovita Carranza.
Yes.
Yeah, Jovita. And she gave a lot of great stats, again, of the money being received by small businesses in the Hispanic community. And she talked about, that there was 4.5 million small businesses and nonprofits, and that that these people, these small businesses and nonprofits have received $5 billion, that's $500 billion in money to keep their businesses open, because they understand that the small businesses is a backbone of America, and they felt the need to save the jobs. She did say that President Trump and Ivanka were the ones that were really responsible, again, for this measure. And they talked about how the small business has already received and accepted 48,000 approved loans for the Hispanic community businesses. And so 7 billion of approved money went to the Hispanics, and 76% of the approved loans went to faith-based organizations. Guys, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, and to touch on that, Bianca, what you were just mentioning, I didn't record the stats, but I was impressed when I was listening in on the call, and I thought, wow, that that's really something, because so many of, like, I'm going to keep saying this throughout our little broadcast here. Regular everyday Americans, we don't realize what's going on. And so it was so informative to sit in on this call and to actually learn something. But what really, I think what resonated with me was when I'm not sure, I think it was the newly elected congressman from California, when he said,
Yeah.
in regards to the SBA, when he mentioned that it's important that for the president to consider sort of investing some of these federal dollars into the Hispanic owned businesses, I'm sorry, not federal dollars, contracts. You know how a lot of, with the federal government contracts is, we need to sort of make an effort and to hire the minority contractors and stuff for the federal contracts. And President Trump did say that he would even consider doing an executive order to that effect. And when he said that, when I heard the word executive order, I was like, wow, thank you, Mr. President, because I'll be honest with you, I don't like to play identity politics. I want to say that I'm a child of God and I'm an American citizen. I'm very proud of my heritage, but I was starting to feel a little left to the side or put on the back burner in regards to him addressing the Hispanic community. So today's phone call was very important, and I was very satisfied with what I heard and what I learned. So
no, and to elaborate on what you're saying, in regards to the Hispanic community, let me give you a cute little anecdote. Okay, so when I was growing up, one of my grandmothers was very adamant about voting Democratic. I didn't take that, into too high of regards, or I didn't think too much of it until I came back from the military, in which time I was full on W. Bush. I was full on about George W. Bush, and I asked her again, well, why do you always vote Democratic? Because this president was actually really good to me while I was in the military. And I just don't understand why you would say that I should always vote Democrat. And because Democrats typically vote the other way in regards to the military, as we've seen. So her response to that was that because you're Hispanic, you should vote Democrat. And, the more and more I asked, my neighbors about this, because I was a representative for my district in the 2008 election. And a lot of the older generation, this is just the way that they think. There are still ideas of racism. Of course, these things are false because we know which party was based in racism. But with the Hispanic community, especially in South Texas, there's this false idea that Republicans are somehow, in some way, shape, or form, not the party of the Hispanic community. And, the more and more as time passes, we've seen, a huge amount of our demographic embrace the president, because they're starting to understand that these ideas are not true. These ideas have been utilized to manipulate the Hispanic community. And I think that, with President Trump directly addressing this will further help the Hispanic community understand the amount of manipulation that has gone into
the indoctrination.
Yeah, exactly. When you have a respectable generation, like my grandmother's generation, a strong woman, so respectable. These people work so hard for what they have, and then they're here embracing a party that wants to take all of it from them, as if they never earned any of these things. And it's super sad. And to see President Trump directly address this issue, regardless of him saying it in those words, is super uplifting. It's great to see this president addressing the fact that the Hispanic community is most likely the most important community across the board right now. That's not saying that we're any better than anybody else, but our numbers, say differently. Our votes are very important at this point in time, and it's very important for the Hispanic community to understand just how important our votes are. So I was right there with you, Maria. I mean, it's super uplifting to hear this.
Yes, thank you, Bianca. Do you remember a while back we had this conversation to touch on what he just said about his grandmother's generation and just in general Hispanics, how they tend to vote Democrat or they're inclined to lean to the left. I think we've all been there, and anybody that's tuned in, that's Hispanic, that's part of our organization or supports Latinos for Trump or considers themselves a conservative, I think we all have a story similar to yours that we could share. I mean, I've been told everything from, you're a traitor to your people or, things to that effect. But Bianca and I had a conversation like that not too long ago where we shared some of our stories. And so one of the things that I wanted to share with those who are listening in and with you, because I've never met you before, is when I first met Bianca last summer at a mega meetup in San Antonio. I'd been following them on social media, Latinos for Trump. And this all started back during President Trump's campaign for 2016. And, I identified with it. And so I said, I'm going to go check these people out. I want to see what this organization is about, because I'm very leery to jump on any bandwagon that's strictly identity politics. And when I went there, I realized, what is the one, factor that these people share, or what is it that kind of molds them together? And that is their conservative values and principles. Mm-hmm. And so you take that and you apply it to just the Hispanic communities in general, what it means to, what do Hispanics believe? What do they think? Of course, Hispanic, we're broad bands. We're, Cuban, Mexican, Venezuelan, South Americans, Puerto Rican. But what is the one thing what are the things that we share in common? Our faith, our families, and strong work ethics. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't think anybody's going to disagree. Those are probably the top 3 priorities to us. And my dad used to have a saying all the time. He would say, "Es una pena que te mantenga el gobierno." He was too proud. He was not going to take any handouts. He wanted to work for what he had, earn what you want, what you need. And that work ethic, is what I see is instilled in the true, Hispanic community. We don't want handouts. We want, we want to hand up maybe once in a while, but we want, the same things that the Black community wants. We want, the opportunity, and we want to be treated, equally. And so I don't have to repeat all this. It's like I'm preaching to the choir, but I still see so many. If these are our values, why do so many Hispanics still vote Democrat? And sometimes I like to, when I engage one, somebody approaches me and questions, why are you voting, Republican? They hate you, they think of you as this, or they don't respect you, they're lying to you, and it goes on. I engage them in some questions, and I pinpoint on those 3 priorities: faith, family, and work ethic. And when they answer to those 3 points, I like to kind of sit back and laugh and tell them, hey, you're really a conservative. You just didn't realize that you're a conservative. And then they kind of like, nah, and I think a lot of it is just pride. It's just pride that prevents them from letting go. And like the Blexit says, get off the plantation. It's a similar thing. And, so my question would be to, those of us within this organization, how important is this to everyone? And what else can we do? What can we continue to do? And what new things can we engage in to reach out to more people, more minorities, Hispanics in particular, and say, hey, we're really all in this together. And I think we all want the same thing. We're just looking at it from different perspectives. So do you guys want to touch on that? Share your ideas about that? Or
well, real quickly, I think what you said, I mean, we're talking about the Triforce of Hispanics right here. We're talking about the absolute most pertinent things in a Hispanic person's life. You're talking about, specifically Christianity. I mean, for the most part, across the board, Hispanics share that. It's it's almost universal amongst Hispanics. Just in that in itself, gives you the building blocks for a happy, successful life. And I mean, I don't think, as far as family goes, I don't think any other, demographic has larger family get-togethers than the Hispanic community. I mean, we are very close. With all second cousins, third cousins, so on and so forth. Bianca and myself had this discussion earlier. We
might be related.
If you're a Garcia, you're probably related to somebody.
Dad and I were like, we may be related. This is crazy. So you just never know. Yeah, listen, I mean, we're like multiply.
And then with work ethic, I don't. I don't think that there's a harder working people, and the pride laden within that is just so universal. That everybody in the Hispanic community really, really, really prides themselves on earning a living.
Right.
We're not the type to just take, these incentives, that the Democratic Party has become or has made their foundation. It's like, hey, we'll give you this if you give us your vote, and what you're saying is 100% absolutely the truth. And I think that those three things are exactly what we need to focus on. I mean, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Those three things are absolutely what holds us together.
I'm reading some of the comments here. Myra posted, many are misinformed on what the conservatives fight for. And that's just what we were talking about. It's so true. But what can we do about it as an organization? I mean, we've got boots on the ground, right, Bianca? You've got all these people that go out and wave the flag and attend rallies and try to raise awareness. And I commend everybody that does that. I wish that I lived in an area where it was easier for me to, to get there. I live in a very small rural area, pretty far from everything. But I think, yes, continue doing those things. Those are important. But maybe, I'm just open to suggestions, because at this point, I tend to start getting a little discouraged and I don't want to. And then I rely on my faith and I'm like, Lord, help keep me focused on this, because this is important. I do believe that Donald Trump is a blessing to America. I do believe that the hand of God is on him. And I believe that he was selected not just by the people, but by God to help. To help save our country, because we were spiraling out of control pretty quick after what we went through with the last administration for the 8 years. And so I just, I think, I want to remain prayerful. I want to, build on that message that Latinos for Trump stands for. And I encourage anyone that's listening to kind of help spread our message. I think you guys do a wonderful job sharing, the broadcast and sharing everything from our various social media pages. And now we've got, from what I understand, we've got this new TikTok team, which is hopefully will appeal to the younger generation. I'm so excited to see that. I think even Bianca and I, we were going to do a TikTok video the other day, but I think we kind of chickened out at the last minute. But
I know we did. I've done some solo.
Yeah, but I don't have moves like that, so I wasn't going to embarrass myself. But anyway,
no, come on, we had fun. We did have one TikTok video together.
Yes,
but I have to say, Maria, I mean, when you ask, what people can do, this is why I pretty much lead this organization, and so that I'm always I have an open door. Policy. And when people want to speak out, get involved. Today I spent, my morning returning phone calls for people who are interested in getting involved. I'm vetting these people and I'm talking to them. I'm trying to find out where they're from, why they want to become, part of this movement. My goal, I think, for our organization is this. You see right here in this, and just with us, look, we don't all look the same. We don't all speak the same. I mean, we're the same, but we're different faces of conservatism here. And this is huge. And the best thing that we can do is that we have to show more of us. You know, we have to recruit more people. We have to be more vocal, you know, and encourage people. And I think that I've been in this for so long, since 2016. So I have seen how much easier it is, because back 3 years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, Myra wouldn't have been able to go and wave her flag in McAllen or Edinburgh. You just couldn't do that. I mean, it was dangerous. I mean, she could have gotten beat up or something, right? Now you see her going out in a very deep blue area and people are just honking. Woo! They're like Trump. And, you know, so Marie, look at us. We were at the beach. We were in our golf court, in our little golf cart, and we had the little Trump flag, and we had people going Trump, and
Thumbs
you know,
up
and so
clapping, yeah.
thumbs up and clapping. I mean, you didn't see that kind of environment. And the thing is that I think that's why it's important for people like us to speak out. And even more important, guys, this is really the importance. This is how we're going to really impact our community. Okay. Is when we sit here on phone calls with the president and the White House, and we come back to our people and to a community. We put out a podcast like this, and we tell our people, this is what the president is saying. This is what he has done for our community. And when you speak out and more people see that, they're going to get braver and braver. And that's why our membership is growing. I can't keep up with everybody that is emailing in and signing up for membership. I can't keep up because there's so many. And so I want to be able to highlight. And like Anthony just recruited a new correspondent. We have 2 new correspondents. We have ambassadors correspondents popping up like crazy. And yes, with that said, we got a new TikTok team. In 2-3 days, we had 8 new members, and all they're doing is TikTok. That's it. There are new official. You got to go to TikTok. If you have a TikTok, please go to @official LFT 2020. Look for our team, and they're so creative, and all of them are young guys.
Yes.
These are young guys.
They're
So
definitely helping make us more visible. So I really commend and I appreciate them so much for that. It's so exciting.
And they don't. Yeah, it's very exciting to me. And this is what you have to understand too, Maria. And listen, you're a GOP, or you're a vice chair in your county party, and you're a Hispanic, and you're in a leadership position, right? And you're in a leadership position in this organization. But here's what people didn't understand. So I always think outside the box, right? What really highlights the Latinos, right? So I don't want to do what traditional people, and I'm not a suit and tie person. I'm sorry. I'm just not a suit and tie person. I mean, I will dress up, don't get me wrong, but I don't like to be in suit and ties every day, or dresses, whatever, suit. I just don't, it's not me. So, anyhow, I embraced, and it's all Anthony's fault. And actually, Anthony and Jen were the ones that got me on TikTok. I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I didn't even want to be on it. And now I'm so hooked. I'm like scrolling through all these videos, and I'm like, there's some really like creative people on here. And so anyway, we got this TikTok team, and I'm sharing the TikToks, and I encourage everybody to, when you go to their TikTok, share it on your page and show all these kids that are out there, and they're just being goofy, and they're just making these videos. It's a whole different level of conservatism. Okay. Really, honestly, they may be silly and it may look dumb, and it may be like, who's doing this? But you have to think about that. This youngster is brave enough to make a video they're wearing wigs, they're talking funny, but they're promoting pro-life, work, Trump, work ethic, if you know, family, they're promoting all the very things that we care about. And so that's what's funny in an artistic way. So I literally sharing it onto my Facebook story. And guys, you're not gonna believe this. I get a message from someone who's, you know, I love this person, no disrespect at all, but it's a typical GOPer. Right? Typical person, been in the GOP for a very long time. They've run for office. They have, and anyway, he sends me a message and he says, you know, great video, but you should think about putting older people in there and then some veterans. And I thought, they don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get what Trump has done. They don't get it. That's what I tell people. Latinos for Trump was birthed by the whole movement. They don't get it. You can't just step outside your GOP mind and say, These are people. They have a life. They're not a number. They're not, oh, well, I just want your vote. It doesn't work that way. That's why the Hispanics have been voting Democrat forever. Traditionally, they don't even know why they're voting Democrat anymore. They just vote because they're told they're Hispanic. But because, you know why? Because no one has been able to message to them and to tell them who they really are as conservatives. And that's what the GOP doesn't get. They don't get it. They just look to you for a vote. They don't look to you for a person. Even Hillary Clinton and her campaign, do y'all remember the leaks of the emails that they said, hey, the Hispanic community, once you have them in your pocket, they're loyal to you forever? That's the problem, because the GOP hasn't figured out that if you just build a relationship with us, you will gain our loyalty. But it's a relationship. We're not a number. We're not a number for you to add to your voting record. It's not how we work. And so this is why I really, really like this. But listen, I'm going to play this and let me see if y'all can hear it. And I just want to showcase this a little bit real quick. And let me see if y'all can hear it. Hold on.
$6.8 billion of approved funds by SBA.
Can y'all hear that?
And that represents about an average loan for every faith-based concern of about $89,700. Our lending community was originally at SBA 1,800 what we call authorized or delegated lenders. And now we have over 5,400 lending PPP delegated lenders.
Mm-hmm.
They represent credit unions, they represent minority depository institutions, they represent the global banks, and they represent also CDFIs, which many of you are very familiar with. Before this pandemic, our Latino communities were thriving and achieving the American dream. You all know small business is a powerful vehicle for wealth creation and upward mobility, particularly impactful in socially and economically disadvantaged communities, an area and a section of a city that I know very well personally. While we fight this pandemic, we will need you as the pillars of our community and as businesses and nonprofits to rise up and bring light to our communities again. And in Spanish, we say, prende la luz y ten gran fe en este presidente y que Dios lo bendiga.
Amen.
When I was nominated by the president, I made a pledge to preside over an agency focused on creating more opportunities for historically underrepresented entrepreneurs. The SBA remains prepared to assist small businesses impacted by not only this disaster, but many that are forthcoming. And today, I firmly make that pledge here again as we adapt to our new environment and uncharted opportunities as we recover. Small businesses were responsible for our extraordinary pre-pandemic economy, and they will play a critically important role in our economic recovery. Mil gracias for all the hard work. SBA is here to help you during our nation's recovery, y que Dios los bendiga.
Amen.
Thank you,
Amen.
Mr. President.
Amen to that. I was so proud. So listen to this.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask Dr. Brooks, if you could, to say a few words. Thank you very much, Deborah. Thank you.
So I just wanted to hear that, just play that clip real quick, because that was our Secretary of Small Business Administration, Jovita Carranza, that I talked about earlier. And she was, y'all, when I hear her speak and I heard her say this morning, you could tell that she's not like, I'm presumida, I'm the secretary and listen to me. She was heartfelt about, she knows that it's going to take the Hispanic community to rebuild the economy. They know that. We're the backbone of this United States. And that's something that Donald Trump understands. He really does. And so as you see, I teary-eye because I know that those people are working hard for our community. So when people put down the president, it really hurts me because he literally is doing everything he can to help us and to help our communities. And he's dedicated, and he has dedicated people. And her heartfelt message there to us, and to say that she is more prouder and could never have seen herself working for a president, right? And that I just think that is so amazing. Like, it's just I'm just like, I'm speechless, because it's so overwhelming with an emotion to know that there is a Hispanic female leading our small business administration, knowing that Hispanic women are probably the fastest growing group that owns small businesses and is contributing to the economy. That's how important we are. And they understand that. And they're not calling us because they just want our votes. They're calling us because they literally want to work with our community to help rebuild this economy. And that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the emphasis on the Hispanic community is just extraordinary. The realization that the Hispanic community is amongst the most important demographic, economically, is so it's just amazing to hear it, addressed, and to see the action put into play. To get the Hispanic community to understand, just how important they are, because I really don't think they completely understand.
They don't. And you want to know what comes to mind?
But y'all, I feel appreciated that somebody took the time to call and tell. I feel appreciated. Like, wow, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
To put Jovita's message, because when she was saying, when we were on the call earlier, and I heard her saying, giving those statistics, like I said, I didn't record them. Bianca did. She had the numbers for you. But I just, my heart just started feeling like, I got so excited. I'm like, oh my God, like, here's some hard facts, some truth here. And just everyday common people aren't even aware of this, and the analogy that comes to mind when I was hearing her talk, and just now hearing Bianca talk and your comments, is sort of like, they've become, Hispanics that continue to vote Democrat have become complacent, and they are satisfied with being underneath the plate and receiving the crumbs that the Democrats are giving them. And they don't realize that the conservatives, majority Republican, are saying, we don't just want you to have crumbs. We want you to have a piece of the American pie. Come join us, because you're so much, we're all alike. We're all in this together. But for some reason, what is the one thing that keeps them anchored to the Democratic Party? And it's the misconception of identity politics. It's the misconception that they have to stay in that party. It's similar to what Candace Owens, relates to people in the Blexit movement. You are not bound to that party. And why would you want to stay? And in my personal experience, when I speak to people, Hispanic heritage, that vote Democrat, it all relates to race or ethnicity. I'm just like, is that the sole thing that you identify as? I mean, what about, financial stability and equal opportunity and education and, the things of that nature. And so, I just feel like, we got to tell people, keep working hard to spreading this message. Is the Republicans don't want to drop some crumbs at you. We're trying to give you a piece of the pie, because then everybody we're all going to enjoy it. And so what Jovita shared with us today, Bianca, that was amazing. Even so, I felt so encouraged by the gentleman that spoke, the president of the National Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. He said similar things along the line, in regards to, the importance of Hispanic-owned businesses and what we have and what we've contributed to this strong economy. And he did say, and I don't know if anybody caught this, but he said, let's save our strong economy. He didn't say let's build a strong economy. He said let's save. And that was the key word. And that's very important in regards to some of the things and with the effects of COVID. Can we kind of, I don't know how much time we have on here, but can we kind of sway the conversation in that direction? Is that something that we can talk about?
Real quickly, I just want to say that I really enjoyed the look on your face as you explained, the difference in taking crumbs versus enjoying a whole piece of the pie. You know what I mean? And I think that same enthusiasm would be shared by everybody if they just laid the identity politics to the side and understood that this is a sharing of ideas rather than this ridiculous idea
system.
Exactly. And I really couldn't put it any better than the three things that you broke it down into, because when you said that you laid back and you kind of laughed, I know exactly what you're talking about, because that's what I do each and every event that I go to. I try and talk to 2, maybe 3 people, and just to get that look when they look up and to the right and they're like, oh my gosh, I think that makes sense. That's just it's all it. When we ask what can we do, the main thing that we do is share this information with our neighbors and brothers and sisters. If you can pass that information on to somebody and get that look, you've done your job. 100%. You've done your job. Yeah.
Bianca, how often have we heard people say, I'm referring to Hispanic Americans who do not support our president, aside from calling him a racist, say that he's ruining America, he's ruining our economy. And I'm dumbfounded by this, because I'm like, where are you getting your information? Like, who have you been watching CNN? But are people just that blind to, prior to the COVID, the unemployment numbers for minorities, Blacks and Hispanics, were at an all-time low, and people just ignore that. And it's just like, I don't know what to say to that, other than, open your eyes, open your ears, pay attention. You might learn something. But Trump is very, very, he's not pro-Black, pro-Hispanic. He's pro-American. He wants everyone to share in this American dream and have a piece of the pie. And, like my mom used to say, no lo sacas de ahí, no lo sacas de ahí. We can't, it's scratch your head and you get a little frustrated about it. But the message is from at the closing of the conversation, and I shared it to my GOP page earlier, when he said this, President Trump, and this sense of pride and a smile, because I felt like I was in the room with him, and I could just envision what he was look like when he said, go to the polls and tell the Hispanic community I need their vote. Their vote will put me over the top. President Trump is not a racist. He cares about all Americans. He cares about the Hispanics, cares about the Blacks, the Asians, all of us. I've been reading some of these comments here, Bianca, about illegal immigration. Or there's a couple of them about we support immigration. On that note, why is it so difficult for people to, when they say he doesn't care for immigrants or he doesn't like immigrants? It's just such a misconstrued idea. It's the illegal immigration that we have a problem with. And for some reason, people are stuck on stupid with that particular issue. Is like, it's not immigration that's the problem. It's illegal immigration. And, what are some of your thoughts that you want to share?
I'll say something, and I'll let Thad chime in here too, because I think that because all of us have somehow become politically involved. So we really know what's going on because we're paying attention, we're reading, we're following things, we're researching, more reading, we're talking to other people that are like-minded, and we're sharing information, right? But the average American, guys, really doesn't know what's going on. And a lot of them don't watch the news. They're not even watching CNN or MSNBC. They're really not. And if anything, that if they're on social media, think about it. They're talking to people that are their like-minded. So if they're on an opposite end, they're just hearing what their own friends are saying or their family is saying. They're not really listening to what everybody is saying, right? They're not researching. They're not even paying attention. I was in awe yesterday because I was went with a friend to go to a restaurant, so-called grocery store, right? And I went live on Blexit. I encourage everybody to go and check this place out. This guy is amazing. I'm going to interview him on Blexit. He's a Black American, and he was a Marine, and he opened up a restaurant in a very poor side of town. And it's a very high-end restaurant. He only feeds 13 people a day. You have to have reservations, and it's $250 to eat, right? But everything is grown fresh. Everything is off of his farm. He has a butcher. Everything is prepared fresh. He makes everything fresh in his little restaurant. So he was booked all the way till 2021. And I told him, and I was like, I just kind of I didn't want to talk politics, but I just kind of said a couple of things. And I was like, hey, I want to interview you on Blexit. He's like, what's that? And I'm like, and again, I'm like, you don't know what Blexit is? I go, well, do you know who Candace Owens is? He says, I don't know who that is. I'm like, how do you not know who Candace Owens is, right? But guys, literally, there's people that don't know who any of these people are. The average American doesn't know any of these people. So I was just like, oh, well, she's a very, outspoken person, and this is what she stands for, and da da da. And I didn't try to get too much into politics. So anyway, he's like, oh, he goes, and this is what he told me. He says, honestly, he says, I spend my day in this restaurant. He says, from day to night. He goes, I don't watch the news. I don't watch anything. I really don't know what's going on. He's like, because he's too busy. He literally had a little vegetable and all of his spices and everything. He had like a little garden, and he literally goes and picks his stuff fresh to go and make it in the kitchen in the back. Like literally, he makes everything. He packages it. And let me tell you, his little grilled chicken that I bought yesterday, it was like a little rotisserie chicken. Guys, that's the best rotisserie chicken I have ever eaten in my life. Literally.
Where is this restaurant?
And it's in Houston. It's on like the north side off of Airline and 610. And so anyhow, but that guy there and the other guy that works for him said the same thing. He's like, I don't know who Candace Owens is. I don't know anything about Blexit. I don't know. They're so clueless to what's going on. So when you say, how do these people not know? Because they're not paying attention. Everybody lives a different life. Think about it. Before Trump, I wasn't paying attention to politics. I knew a little bit because I went to school and I studied and stuff like that, but I didn't really know all of the deep state. Think about it. There's so much that we don't know. So, that's why people don't know, guys. They just really don't know. I don't know. Thad, what are your thoughts?
It was put to me by a friend of mine that the world isn't woke Twitter. And that is very true. We have what we think is a very recognizable universe, in the things that we discuss. But if we think in those terms, we're limiting ourselves the same way that they limit themselves. By entertaining, the other ideas, by listening to the other news broadcasters, by reading the proposed bills from the parties that we don't agree with, we get more perspective. If you limit yourself, just to what you agree with at this point in time, because that's not to say that you won't change your mind eventually. We've all been very young. I think it was Winston Churchill that said that if you aren't a liberal or, if you aren't a liberal in your younger years, you're probably heartless. And if you're still a liberal in your older years, you're probably a moron or something to that effect. Yes. I'm sure Churchill didn't say it that same way. But all of us, develop and understand things differently throughout, our lifetime. And, the world, just like I said, it's not woke Twitter. It's, we have a large amount of people that just cannot see the whole picture because they have their lives, going on. While we're discussing this, we have somebody that spends, 12 to 14 hours at work, to put food on the table, so it's just not in their in there's not enough time in the day for them to fully grasp the bigger picture here. For those of us that have been incessantly excuse me, following this sorry, for such a long time, we can see, everything like a detective sees, with pieces of string tied to pictures and pins. We see this broad, tragic comedy, unfold. And I think, again, like I said, it's up to us to help these people understand, because it's our duty, as brothers and sisters, that share this space. We have to help, these other people understand, that there are things that you cannot, fully grasp without doing this kind of research, without reading these bills that are put forward. Because as we've seen with the National Defense Authorization Act, they will pass these bills while there isn't even Congress in house, over the holidays. These things are snuck through. And, I wanted to go back, on something that Maria said. I was thinking about it. In the Hispanic community, it's very important to be accepted by those around you. To be a social pariah is paralyzing for a Hispanic person, especially a church-going person. If you have an entire church that doesn't accept you at that church, it's a problem. And to be a person that's not accepted in the community is especially hard for an older person. I was thinking back on that story I told about my grandmother, and that's a problem. That's a huge problem in the Hispanic community, and more so in the South Texas Mexican community. So I think it's again imperative to emphasize, those three things. You said that, Maria, and I think I'm going to make that part of my battle plan. Because we can all agree upon those three things. Those things are imperative to success and happiness. As far as immigration goes, that's an easy topic to make into a weapon for the other side. It's easy to misconstrue the fact that things should be done legally and we should observe the process and respect the process. I think the process of immigration is what made this country great in the first place. The fact that people could come from all over the world and just sit there and go through this process, which was painstaking and probably painful, for those people to go through. But at the end of the day, those people had the opportunity to make whatever effort they put into it. They could turn that into the American dream, quote unquote, and for us to successfully, carry this message, like the Olympic torch, I think it's important that we emphasize the fact that we aren't resisting immigration itself. What we're resisting is this idea that you can just forget the process, because in order for us to maintain America itself, the United States of America, the most successful experiment that was ever attempted, we have to maintain these processes because they're trying to erase them. And this utilization of division amongst people that still think of things in racial terms is one of the more
it's a highly utilized Democrat tactic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it continues to work because they keep falling for the bait.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's kind of like sometimes, I want to shake them and just tell them,
it's maddening. It's
maddening. Sense into them. But I don't know, education. Maybe if we expand our platform with educational topics and kind of raise awareness to everything that affects people in the Hispanic community. I know immigration is right at pretty much at the top, because that falls in line with, you're turning against your, sorry, there's a mosquito in here. You're turning against your people. You're turning against, your kind. And I'm just like, my people are, I'm American, but, in terms of that, to touch on that, it's like, why are so many immigrants, flocking to the United States? And I have this serious question, and I'm just going to, I don't know what kind of response or backlash I'm going to get from this, but here's one thing I want to know, and I've never heard anybody ask it in the mainstream media or any social media platform. Why is it that America is expected to be the caretaker and the babysitter for this influx of immigrants? Why does no one ever direct the attention to the countries, the home countries that these immigrants, and I'm speaking particularly about Mexico and Central and South American countries. Why doesn't anyone ever say, hey, you need to take care of your people? Mexico in itself is rich. It's a rich country in the tourism and natural resource industry.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't they take care of their people, to the effect that these people are in such dire straits that they're risking their lives to come to our country? Why is that? But yet you can't get anybody to address that. Instead, it's all, what really irks me is particularly when liberals do it, is when they invoke our Christian values and they say, oh, but you're supposed to be a Christian, you're supposed to welcome them and you're supposed to feed them. And when they're hungry and clothe them. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that.
That all goes back to manipulation, Maria.
Yes.
Location. That's the very easy. That's the easiest point.
Maybe our government of leaders, who write, the bills and who put laws into effect. Maybe we need to tell them, hey, you need to listen up here. Why aren't you addressing these countries and telling them? We send them billions in aid. What happens with all of that money? What happens to that aid? Now, I don't know about South America. I can tell you from personal experience. I visited Kenya and Africa. I can tell you what those people told me. But what my point is, maybe we need to get our government officials to say part of the immigration problem is not just the people that are hopping the border. It's why they're hopping our borders. Why aren't you addressing those leaders from those countries and telling them you need to do more to help your own people so that they don't have to turn to desperate measures and flee into our country? But, and then people say, why do they come here waving their flags? You want to know my perspective on that? It's because they really and truly love their homeland, their country. They don't come here because they absolutely want to. They come here out of necessity. So what can the United States do? What should we do as a humanitarian country? What should we do? It seems like our politicians aren't doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I just want to play this as he exits off the phone call real quick. So I'm just going to play a little clip of what he says at the end. I can't even remember what he said at the end, but I'm just going to play it.
Our Constitution and everything else, this great country. We had the best, we were saying, Mike, we had the greatest success in the history of the world just a couple of months ago, and then we had to turn it off. They want to get back to work, and they want to make money, and they don't want to lose their jobs. They want to see their jobs permanently gone, and that's happening. And the Democrats have to open it up. They have to let it go. We understand the disease. It's a tough disease. It's contagious disease, but the numbers are going down. And interestingly, in Georgia, Florida, and other places where they're opened up and at a pretty high level, the numbers have gone down very substantially. The bad numbers that we're talking about, the numbers that we were forced to live with, they're going down. So I think the big thing, Mike, is you just continue to do the job you're doing, give great service to everybody, and we're very proud of you. And I can tell you the Hispanic community is very proud of you, Mike. And you have that last name. That name Garcia probably helps with the Spanish. I don't know if Trump helps quite as much, but the name Garcia helps with the Hispanic community. But I just want to congratulate. I think I can congratulate you on behalf of everybody on the line right now, of which there are thousands of people. really great job. And Mike knows that he can call me at any time. He's like become a friend of mine. Spent a lot of time with him yesterday with his family. And if he has any problem on behalf of the Hispanic community or any other reason, he's going to call me up. And he won't be nice about it. He's going to come back with the answer. He's going to come back with the right answer. So anyway, Mike, thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody for being on the call. It's an honor to spend all this time with you. This is a lot of time, and it's a lot of time because you're a very important group of people to me. So thank you all very much for listening and being on the call, and I'll see you all soon on November 3rd. Get out of.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a very proud moment.
That was a very proud moment. He said, I spent a lot of time with you. He said, this was a lot of time. But, you know, I guess he didn't even, I don't know if he was really paying attention to the time, you know, but as he was actually talking to that Mike Garcia there who won that seat in California there at the end. That's who was on the line. And he asked a question or, you know, just dedicated and said, hey, I'm here to help you, you know, be successful and to really help your community and the people you're going to be representing. So that was amazing. Yeah.
There's hope. There's hope yet for California because I really thought that they were, you know, a lost cause. But that gives me a little hope with those two recent special election victories for the GOP. So that's wonderful.
Well, you touched on COVID earlier, and I think COVID is kind of sealing the deal for the California Democrats. Mm-hmm. You know, they're starting to realize that the California Democrats don't have their best interests in mind, you know, especially in regards to their businesses. You know, they have no issues with letting everybody, you know, fall apart. You know, and I think unless there's some serious changes there, there's going to be some serious issues very soon.
Well, speaking of COVID, I made some notes here that I wanted to touch on. But since we're on the subject of California, I know one of my friends who lives in California had posted. I follow a lot of the trendy posts on Facebook with that stimulus bill in regards to what's in the package for the illegal immigrants. And I'm baffled by that so many in that state just felt like, I don't even know what to call that, bleeding hearts. You know, I'm not a heartless individual. You know, I have compassion as a Christian, but I just don't understand why in the government capacity, why they're utilizing, you know, taxpayer dollars to include them in this package. And so what are your thoughts on that, Thad?
It's like I said, it's just a power play. It's obviously something utilized just to make a point. You know, I mean, I don't think that at any point in time that they thought this was going to pass or that this was going to be something that that would be, you know, brought to fruition. I know that there are many Americans out there that see this as offensive, you know, and
I don't mean the federal stimulus. I'm talking about the state of California.
Oh no, I'm completely unaware of this. Completely unaware of this.
In the state of California, Governor Newsom had set up a fund that would help offer stimulus relief to I'm going to use their term.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
For the sake of being PC on this podcast. But what are your thoughts on that? Because, you know, my conservative friends, of course, you know, they had a lot to say. But I was appalled. I was surprised at the people in California in general and reading some posts, some comments on some posts about the subject. They just viewed it as like, well, they're residents and they have to make a living too, and they deserve something. And I'm just like, you know, do you people not get it? You know, you quoted Winston Churchill earlier. I'm going to quote Margaret Thatcher.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've heard it. And Bianca, you've heard it. What's the problem with socialism? Eventually, you run out of other people's money.
Yeah.
And is California going to learn?
No. Well, I think to understand that, you have to look no further than your own backyard. Texas right now. You have how many Californians in Austin right now?
Yeah.
You know, there's a saying going on in Texas right
The
now. 'Cause
liberal underbelly of the state.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, no. I lived in Austin for about 9 months, and that was enough for me. Don't California my Texas. Okay. What you're seeing is mass exodus from California, and that's why they're backpedaling, because people are finally starting to feel it. They're finally starting to understand when it affects their lives, when it affects their day to day, is when they start to understand that these policies, while they, touch on your heartstrings, while they appeal to that aspect, they affect you in a negative way. And it takes a fair amount of time in every socialist country. It takes a certain amount of time for people to understand that, but it's not until it affects them, personally, that they understand, how these humanitarian, efforts,
Right. And then by the time you realize it, then you're
It's
almost
too late.
in a too late situation.
Yeah, exactly.
We all, can refer to Venezuela as an example.
Mhm.
And so that was one of the things that I wanted to talk to in regards to the COVID, was some of the sneaky stuff that goes in. The other thing was this, what the Democrats are doing. And I know this is sort of a sets a flame to everybody's ass, is the mail-in ballot issue. And so
that was touched on. That was touched
I
on.
want to spit in my palm and rub my forehead and say, did the stupid come off? Because obviously you think we're stupid. How can anybody support that? Do they not see what a can of worms that would open up? How vulnerable that would make our election process to fraud and cheating and just, how can anybody be serious about that? And so I just don't understand that.
Well, in regards to Mr. Garcia, the congressman, the new
Yes.
congressman, so that backfired. That backfired on the Democratic Party, because they had to go back on it, apparently, and they had to initiate, walk-up ballots,
right?
And this is good.
But it's something they're proposing for the general election in November, and I'm very nervous about that. I don't agree with it. It doesn't make me feel good, and that's not something that I want to see come to fruition.
No,
so
absolutely not. Yeah.
But it's in that stimulus bill, and it's like, you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it. And so, okay, Bianca, can I share? I'm looking at my notes here. I watched a video this morning of the salon owner in Oregon. We're all familiar with Shelley Luther in Dallas, in Texas, but this new story that is trending or going viral is the lady, the salon owner, and I don't think it was a hair salon. I think it might have been a tattoo parlor or something. Anyway, she did not comply with the shutdown orders, and the government came in. And so this isn't so much about not being in compliance. This is, I want to draw focus to at what point is it considered government overreach, or to where you feel like you're living in a communist country. They imposed excessive fines. One was like $14,000. They threatened her livelihood and her business by taking away her license and shutting her down. Therefore, she would lose her income and wouldn't be able to support her family. And then the one that really struck home, and when she was giving an interview, she became very emotional, got a lump in her throat and couldn't talk, is when she was sharing the story about how CPS came to her home and questioned her children. They wouldn't allow her to be in the same room when they were questioning her children. And I just thought that was just a blatant abuse of authority and a violation of our, civil rights. And so I just cannot believe that we are living in a day and age where this is happening to American citizens. And so you guys want to share your thoughts on that?
Do you happen to have a link to this story?
I can. As a matter of fact,
Can you share that with Bianca? And or actually, if you want to send that to me,
friends, I'll send it to you. I have your phone number also.
Yeah, if you want to send that to me, I can pull that up and I can actually play that, or Bianca can play that right now.
It's on my Facebook page. Do you want the video? Can you go to my page and pull it up real quick? It was
Yeah.
You know how to
posted.
do that, right, Bianca?
It was
Okay.
posted this morning. But anyway,
Yeah.
that you know, that in itself.
Hang on, yeah. I'm gonna
Are you
work on
get
it.
it?
Hang on,
You
keep
get it?
going.
But my point is, and I don't want the people that are listening in to kind of, you know, get off track here. You know, this is not just about the COVID issue or about our safety or about our health. I'm talking about government overreach.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's frightening.
No,
And that's
it's
the thing, that's one of the things that people are, like you said, are starting to get the picture. They're starting to wake up.
This is absolutely setting a new precedent.
Yes.
For the we're basically placing you know, non-citizens over citizens at this point, because
Right.
that would not happen to an illegal immigrant. That would not happen at all, because there would be just immediate backlash. You know, we've all heard the stories of kids in cages, but we've all seen the double standard, you know, where that's actually made an issue out of. You know, somebody in the comments mentioned, you know, that these illegal these non-citizens were being placed above veterans. That's absolutely the truth.
That is.
You know, we have so many incentives for non-citizens. You know, to elaborate on your point earlier, you know, with the people coming in caravans from South America, etc., Mexico, and I mentioned, I mean, this is location. I mean, there's no better optics. This all comes down to optics. If we have a perceived amnesty type situation, basically advertised in South America, why wouldn't there be a caravan of people coming into the United States? And why wouldn't mainstream media make this more of a circus than it actually is? Okay, what you have is very concerted efforts to cast a bad light on this administration, utilizing and manipulating non-citizens. Okay, this has nothing to do with anything other than that. You know, that's my perception. Of course, this is just my opinion, but like I said, I've been I've been obsessing about this from 2006, 2008. You know, this is absolutely true. I mean, we have advertised caravans in South America. And this is done on purpose, you know, to give the idea that unless you accept these people, unless you accept the idea that they are entitled to more than you as an American citizen, you are a bad person. And that's just not true. It's not true. And it plays on people's emotions and feelings and want to help people. You know, everybody at their base wants to help these people, you know, but it's out of our reach. It's not our responsibility to take these people and to pay for their needs. It's absolutely not. It's part of I don't want to say it's something that we're entitled to, but it's just a perk of being a United States citizen. And you can have that perk if you go through the process. Go for it, Bianca.
Is this the one? Is this the one?
Yes, that's the video.
Okay.
Okay, hang on. Can y'all hear it? Or hold on. Oh.
Is it going?
Try dropping it and then resharing the screen and making sure that that audio box on the lower left-hand corner when you share screen is checked. I think that might be the issue. You know, and then beyond that, you know, the utilization.
Wait, what's happening? What's happening?
I don't think the audio is.
What did you say, Thad?
If you can just go ahead and stop sharing that screen. Yeah, I don't think the audio is playing. Like,
oh, you know what?
or is the,
oh, you know why?
Is the
okay,
video,
hold on.
Is the video loading?
let- it's, no. Hold on. It's because I have to switch the mic. Hang on,
Okay.
or do you hear
Okay.
it? Hang on a second.
The main reason I'm here today is I want the public to understand what's happening to me by the government in full detail, the intimidation and the bullying, all because I'm trying to earn a living and provide for my family. So I'm going to walk you guys through the timeline of what the government has tried to do to me in the last 10 days. And I hope that you are as ashamed as I am. So on March 2nd, you all know that I publicly announced that I was going to be opening my salon on May 5th. And I was doing so to support my family and provide an income for my family. On May 4th, the day before I even opened, OSHA came into my salon and informed me that they would return the next day. And if I opened, they would issue me a $1,000 citation. And if I didn't comply and shut my doors, they would then issue me a $70,000 citation.
Oh my God.
And at that point, I was almost broken and beaten. I decided not to open. And with the help of my political experts and my attorneys, we moved forward. And on May 5th, we did open our doors. And myself and some of my independent contractors were able to come in for a week and work, as is our right, and provide for our families. There's about 23 artists that work in the salon. And the last I checked, within the last week, not a single one of them has received any unemployment or government assistance. So they had 1 week to come in and try to earn a living for their family and pay some of the bills that we're acquiring. And on May 6th, the next day, my lease with the city of Salem was threatened, claiming that I was violating the order and therefore violating my lease. So yet another agency that was coming and threatening me and intimidating me. And if you can possibly believe this, on May 7th, Child Protective Services showed up at my home. They questioned my husband and I. They questioned my child without me present. They searched our home. And I've never expected such a violent, aggressive, vindictive thing could ever have been done to me or my family, because I'm trying to earn a living, because I'm trying to work. 1 week later, excuse me, I'm sorry. 1 week later, yesterday, OSHA finally decided that my case was closed and had decided that my disciplinary actions were as follows: that I would receive, no doubt, a $14,000 fine for operating a, quote, hazardous facility for my, quote, employees, which I do not have. I have independent contractors that are choosing to work in this facility. OSHA has illegally deemed them employees and is citing me as an employer, which I am not, $14,000. And upon issuing that citation, which will come next week, I was told, I will have 3 days to shut my doors, or they will cite me yet again for another issue that is, once again, not legal. So the past 10 days, when all I've wanted to do is provide for my family and earn a living and open my business that's been closed for 6 weeks, I'm being threatened and intimidated and bullied daily by the government. And I'm very sad that this is the world that we live in. I'm sad that I can drive 20 minutes down the freeway and that person's job as a hairstylist is essential, according to Kate Brown. But my job, 20 minutes up the street, is non-essential. Everyone's job is essential, not because of what we do or how we do it, but because it's the way we make our living. I just don't understand why that's hard to believe. And I'm continually terrified for the surrounding businesses in Marion County that are still deemed non-essential, and how many more businesses are going to go bankrupt and have to close because of this order. I wish I could help you guys too.
Yeah. So that's the latest from Bizarro World.
Right. So, Oregon, I don't think I have to remind anybody, is a blue state, Democrat leadership. I had to look it up on the map because I wasn't sure where it was in proximity to Portland, but it's actually south of Portland. And did you guys notice how emotional she got when she got to the part about talking about CPS coming to her house?
Absolutely.
And I think that was the one part in the video where it really struck me, because as a parent, I can only imagine the government coming to my door and accusing me of doing something that is endangering my child. And Bianca could tell you, I would never do that. You know, I love my kids. But just the accusation in and of itself is a scary thing. And to be threatened with fines and incarceration or losing custody of your children, what does that have to do with her operating her salon or her parlor? I don't even get that. Like, that's
no, it's absolutely paradoxical. You know, it makes absolutely no sense. And if you're really thinking about this, you know, with a thinking hat on, you know, I mean, all you're doing is removing this woman's ability to care for her child and making an issue, you know, that you're they're creating an issue with childcare by doing this to people. And I think you know, they're defeating themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot right here, because this is the point at which people understand exactly what the situation is. You know, when you have local government, you know, state government, you know, writing against federal government, and then noticing the difference between the states that are going with the federal government, and you know, where these these three states, you know, Washington State, Oregon State, and California, they are part of that coalition of governors that we heard about with Whitmer, and I can't remember who else. You know, these states are all the states that don't want to reopen, that they want to impose the most ridiculous, you know, quarantine rules, etc. These are the states that are looking at actual civil unrest. You know, these are the people that are going to the Capitol, you know, armed and letting them know exactly how ridiculous these policies are.
Yes.
To remove to put a providing mother into a position to where she's questioned over her ability to provide for her children is the absolute worst position to be in for a mother that tries her damnedest to provide for that child. It's insulting.
The irony of it all to me, and I'm going to keep referring to myself as just a common everyday citizen. The irony of it all to me is this: you're going to threaten her with fines and possibly removing the children from her home, and possibly her being incarcerated for her inability to pay the fines. But yet they are releasing violent criminals for the sake of protecting them from the COVID virus.
Excellent
Explain
point.
the logic in that to
There's
me,
none.
Dad.
There's none to be
There
found.
is none.
There's none to be found.
Exactly. But yet this is California. This is what they're doing.
Yeah, it's
and
bizarro
it's
world.
just like, you know, am I in the twilight zone here? What you know, stop the world. I want to get off. You know, because this is just outrageous. And you know, there's so many stories that are happening throughout our nation where COVID is having some type of effect. Bianca, let's talk about Houston. You and I were talking about Houston yesterday with this judge that's you know, her overreach with you know, playing, you know, the Nazi dictator, where they have to, you know, putting up the website or the hotline where people could call in and report people that were in violation. And not to mention the recent story, and I don't want to get off the subject here. This is not about race. I want to talk about a recent criminal that was released who murdered an 80-year-old grandmother. Let's not name race. Let's just keep it at violent criminal who was arrested 67 times, was released, and then he murdered an elderly woman in the parking lot of Walgreens. Let's just keep it at right there. We're not going to name race of either victim or perpetrator. I just want to talk about that. Why was that gentleman released?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
we don't have Bianca's audio. We don't have you.
I think
Think
you're
she
on mute,
forgot.
Bianca.
Switch back.
Yeah. So
forgot to switch
we
back.
have criminals, and we're talking about career criminals here being
Yes.
released for fear that they might catch the COVID virus.
Yes.
And then we're threatening working mothers with imprisonment,
Yes.
with
That's what I'm
confinement,
saying.
with
Yeah.
Am I
yeah.
the only one that thinks this is crazy?
No,
So-
no,
You know?
it's a paradox.
No. Can y'all hear me now? Y'all can hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So here's the thing. The reason we have this happening here in Houston, and it's happening in other places, obviously, is because we have a Soros bought DA.
Yeah.
He went and bought, certain DAs all over the country, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
these Soros bought DAs, this is exactly part of their agenda. They're just releasing criminals, and this is what they talk about, and this is what they do. It's complete. Listen, they're not even hiding that they're communist anymore. They're like showing, they're like full-blown communists.
Yeah. No.
And but you brought up a good point, Maria. In fact, I was gonna actually call Thad about this. I was gonna tell him, I've noticed that there's a lot of stories out there right now of government overreach, tons of them. And I would really love that if you worked on this is my little assignment for you, Thad.
Gotcha.
I'd like for you to find some of those clips and videos and do a collaboration of all this government overreach from West Coast to East Coast, and just find those stories and put a collaboration of exactly what COVID really did. Not the people dying and supposedly all this stuff, but all of the things that have happened where the Democrats have taken advantage of COVID to take away people's constitutional rights. I'd love to see that collaboration because there's tons of stories, and you're not seeing them like on the media. No one's talking about them on the media.
Yeah. Well,
I'd love to see that.
No, we had video not too long ago of the mayor of Chicago making reference to these things. You will, and these are her own words, you will fall in line with the quote unquote new world order, or you're done. In so many words.
That was just a week ago. A week ago, Thad.
Yeah. No, and at the same time, this same Chicago mayor is not following her own rules, which she is threatening imprisonment, etc. with, she's going to get haircuts when everybody is not allowed to get haircuts, and
double standard.
This is the Animal Farm, according to Hoyle, idea of what communism turns into. We have do as I say, not as I do. 100%. We have these people that are 100% power just driven. And the rules.
That's another irony. There is when you brought up the mayor of Chicago, she, along with other sanctuary city mayors. I find it so ironic that they're so adamant about, getting before the mics and the cameras and sort of very aggressively telling the citizens of their cities that, you will do this, or you will be arrested, or you will be, in violation. But yet these, they expect her, they're not just her, because there's several. They expect their policies to be implemented and enforced. However, they don't have a problem with ignoring federal, immigration laws when it comes to cooperating with ICE and turning over illegal criminals that are in their possession. We've heard those stories for several years now, where they kind of buckle down and they'll dig their heels in and won't comply with federal law, but yet they want, to sort of, drop the hammer and say, but in regards to the COVID and what's going on here, this is what you're going to do, and don't, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. So
That's right.
I'm sorry, you guys, there's a mosquito in here that's been bothering me for a while, but if you see me doing this, I'm not going crazy. But yeah,
I know. Listen, I'm over here
I just think that's so
eating on some
hypocritical.
fruit.
Oh, I think that's just, it's an irony, and it's such hypocrisy that they stand there and their self-righteous, tone of, dictating to their citizens, but yet in the same token, they're in violation of federal law when they refuse to comply with federal law in regards to turning over violent illegal criminals to ICE, because they claim that, sanctuary status. So it's just like Democrats, they just never cease to amaze me. And it's just,
it's better that it's being revealed now, and that we're catching on to it, and we can actually fight it back. We've got an opportunity to fight it back, and we're going to have to take our voices and everybody that we know to the polls to turn this around.
I got a 1-minute video. I got a 1-minute video real quick, Bianca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go there, and we've already been going on almost 2 hours. So
wow.
It was my nanny.
It was.
Here we go.
How you do it? My thoughts are, because it's not written into law, it's just a very dominant culture. I think the only way you can do it is a couple ways. One, I'm thinking about an executive order from day one that says, in more legalese than this is not a thing. We will no longer honor this, because the way that aldermanic prerogative works is there's got to be compliance with the executive branch, because otherwise it doesn't work. So you got to eliminate that compliance, and you make it a mandate, and then you do training, particularly in the city. I'll call them licensing departments, whether it's zoning, buildings, housing will be impacted by it, planning certainly, and you pick the people to run those agencies and the deputies that are pledging allegiance to the new world order and good governance. And then I think you have the inspector general to do some spot audits to make sure that there is real compliance.
Okay, so in that clip, you're hearing references to Strong Cities Initiative. You're hearing references to I'm sorry guys, hold on one second. You're hearing references to Code Next. These are things that these programs do. And of course, you mentioned Soros earlier. He's the arch villain. I think him and Bill Gates are like James Bond villains, like incarnate. But these things, if you look into these programs, this is exactly what these programs do. This is what this is all about. She's mentioning zoning. That's Code Next. The reduction of privately owned vehicles. She's talking about eliminating choice. That's what she's talking about. So you don't have any other word for this kind of behavior other than tyrannical. We're talking about somebody who wants absolute control. Absolute. I think that, if there was anything, worth ending this on, I think that in itself is just, this elaborates everything that we're saying. They're utilizing the heartstrings of Americans to manipulate their decision making. And when this fails, like it is in California, that's when they start imposing mandates. So, it's a focal point in history. It's the precipice of our existence at this point in time. And it's upon all of us to get out there and make sure that our thoughts are verbalized. It's so important for us to band together, more than just Latinos for Trump, more than just the Proud Boys. This is humanity that we're talking about here, because we're talking about an elimination of human thought. That's what this revolves around. So I'm getting myself all worked up over here. I'm getting chills, guys. But
all right, Dad.
I think I really, that video just it says it all, And
hey, you know what's awesome? That's very powerful is the fact that 3 Hispanics here, Latinos, whatever you want to call us, right, are talking about it because we're aware. That's what scares them, and that's why they want to silence us and censor us, because they know that we are woke.
Right. We're aware of what's happening there. So I know I just looked at the time and I realized we were on here Maybe Bianca, we could come on again another day, because there were two other things that I did want to talk about that I felt are very important, particularly to the people of Texas. And we can, if we could, set up a time maybe in the next few days or next week to talk more about the effects that COVID has had on just people from different walks of life. One being the restaurant industry. I was following some stories today out of San Antonio, and then I discovered that locally here in my community, which is population 6,700 people, restaurants are implementing a COVID surcharge on your tickets.
What?
Bill Miller's doing it in San Antonio, and then I did a little research, and I found in my little small community of Cuero, Texas, there are restaurants that are implementing this. And so I did a little questionnaire on my personal Facebook just to get people's feedback, because I was, curious what their thoughts were. And there were some naysayers, and then there were some people that kind of, looking at both sides of the spectrum, because, like I said, a lot of Hispanic minority-owned businesses, restaurants in particular. So I'd like to get into something like that on the next podcast. And then the other thing is, have you been to the grocery store lately? Have you bought a pound of hamburger meat? Have you bought a brisket? Have you bought a steak?
It's all up. The prices have gone up.
Our cattle industry, and I have a lot of friends, my ex-husband's family, and I'm, hundreds of I have lots of friends in the cattle industry. This is a really scary thing, you guys. And the problem is, though, the misconception is people think, well, they're like, well, why are they killing all their cattle, and why aren't they doing that? You have to understand from step 1, step 2, step 3, how does a steak or a pound of hamburger get to the grocery store? If people are unaware, especially city folks, the rancher to the auction, from the auction to the slaughterhouse, from the slaughterhouse to the processing plant, from the processing plant to the grocery store vendor, and in the trucks and to the grocery store shelves. And so that's where, it's important to understand that, these ranchers are having to euthanize their herds, because the COVID has affected the processing plants that have been shut down, who aren't allowed to have employees there to handle the processing, the slaughter and the processing. So this is like really important. Our food supply. What next?
I think,
not just food, agriculture also. There's several, things like that, things that aren't coming via the agriculture industry. So maybe we can set up something one day next week or whenever and talk about this.
Actually, if you want to set up something up, Thad is free this week, right, Thad, to do some lives, and maybe you and Thad can tackle on a couple of things.
And let's advertise it to our people that are chiming in, and maybe put it on our page so that we can draw people, tell them what time so that they can come in and share their thoughts and their concerns, because I know I've had numerous people share with me what's going on, and it's not just about having to put more money out of our pocketbooks to bring home a pound of hamburger. I'm talking about supply. What's gonna happen when you go? It's just like it was, when the whole COVID thing started and couldn't get toilet paper. We're not gonna be able to get beef and chicken and pork and certain vegetables and fruits and stuff, things of that nature. Let's do that.
Maria, what I would say, Maria, we talked about, those pressure points and those points at which people start, coming to realizations. When beef is no longer available to American citizens, we're going to have all out.
Well,
revolts.
President Trump did meet with some representatives of the cattle industry. I think, was it yesterday or this morning? And I watched briefly. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did see where he was going to, or he mentioned an initiative about possibly passing something to where we don't import beef. Why are we importing beef? These are
the questions that should be asked.
Why are we importing beef or any other meet
Yeah,
that.
I mean, if we're energy
we have,
independent,
yes.
why are we exporting our oil? I mean,
Same,
you
yes,
live in
same
Cuero.
thing.
You live in
Yes.
Cuero.
I live in the
among
middle of the Eagle Ford Shale.
exactly,
Yes, I
exactly.
hear you. So yeah, so it's one of those things that I think this would be a good topic to cover on another podcast and kind of give a heads up to the people that
set it
tune
up.
in. So yeah, I'm gonna put that in charge of that, and I'll
set
just
it up,
chime
Dad.
in. So
Absolutely,
sounds good.
No,
Enjoyed
hey,
it.
Maria, great
Absolutely.
talking to you. I
Yeah,
really
same here.
appreciate your perspective. Absolutely.
Good to finally put a face to the name.
I'm here.
glad that we were able to get Maria on. And hey, Thad, this is who you talk to get your business cards. Okay.
Oh,
Anthony
yeah.
was also asking me, he's like, who's ordering my business cards? I said, Maria.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my
place your
email and I'm going to send you what I need in order to get them properly and correctly printed.
Gotcha.
So, and I apologize
and then
because Bianca knows my story. I've been busy during this whole COVID thing because I've got teenagers. I've got one graduating, and then I've been a mask maker too. So that's another thing we could talk about is the masks. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, definitely.
So definitely get with her. Get with her. She'll place the order and everything, and then they send me a bill, and then we pay it. So, or Latino. I mean, I don't pay it, but Latinos or Trump does. So anyway, we just thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you. Listen, some of you have hung out with us for 2 hours. Thank you so much. I mean, I think we've covered a lot of information. Please share.
I'm reading these comments. I'm going to go back later and reply to them.
Reply to them.
Because I'm not able to do it during the podcast, but I'm going to go back and address some of these questions and comments that people were making.
This has been an awesome podcast.
Yeah,
it's been an awesome day. Started our day off with, obviously being on that call with the president. So we just thank you. Everybody, make sure you go follow us at official LFT 2020 on all social media. Go follow our TikTok page, our new TikTok page with our team. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at official LFT 2020. And also you can find me on Bianca for Texas on all the, as well. I'm at Bianca for Texas on all of the social media podcasts as well. So Maria, let them know how to find you.
Yep. I'm at Maria Salinas Miller on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter, which I don't have my Twitter handle memorized. Hold on. I'll pull it up real quick. I do utilize Twitter, but not as much as I do Facebook. I am on Twitter at Isabel Texas on Twitter. You can find me Maria Isabel Miller at Isabel Texas on Twitter or Maria Salinas Miller on Facebook.
Awesome. And Thad, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can follow me at Trail of Fears 20. And we also do Titans of Liberty. You can follow Jason Lowe on Facebook and you can find our cast there. Really good stuff. We should have some great guests coming up here really soon. We've had many people like Sargon of Akkad. We've had Owen Schroyer from InfoWars. We've had Leo Zagami. We have a lot of different perspectives on all of this, and we really enjoy your viewership. So you guys check it out.
Great.
Will do.
Well, again, we just thank you guys for tuning in. Spread our message and have a great evening, guys. Again, Trump 2020.
Yes.
And I always say, peace out.
Yes. Peace out. Trump 2020.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.